It says we're live, but I don't believe YouTube anymore when it says we're live. So it'll do what it usually does. It'll run up to 30 seconds and it'll start over again, probably. We'll see. We'll see. Brett Spencer. Shalom Yah's people. Shalom back, Brother Brent. Hello. Can you hear me? Hello. Can you hear me? Am I here now? The Scoop. 5x5. Jason, Virginia. What's up, Jason? 5x5. Good morning, everybody. Greetings from FEMA Region 6. Good morning, James. Hi, everybody. I'm Bear from the internet. We're going to do some coffee time with Bear this morning, which is like the brief but slightly less knife handy, hopefully slightly less impassioned and yelly, a little bit more casual tour of the news of the day and why should you care. It's all propaganda and indoctrination anyway, Bear. I know that. I'm aware. What I'm trying to do is read the street signs as we barrel down the road to disaster and international chaos and warfare so that we can perpetuate normalcy for the people that we love by mitigating risk through preparedness and belief. And so that's what we do here at this channel. That's what I'm trying to do. And I think enough of y'all find value in that hundreds, if not thousands of y'all join me in this every time we do one. So that's what a coffee time with Bear is. Still to this day, 40% of the people who watch this show are not subscribed to it. And a whole bunch of y'all have been unsubscribed from this show by YouTube because they don't like us. So if you intend to be subscribed, please make sure that you're still subscribed. If you're living in your mommy's basement, it's probably time to set down the Cheetos and act like a grown-up and subscribe to the Bear Show. Okay? Cool. Ring the little bell icon. Do all that stuff. Blah, blah, blah. YouTube. Ask for subscribe thing. The show's brought to you by the creator of the universe, who is amazing and wonderful and sovereign over all things. The show's also brought to you by the fine people over at Patreon. Link is in the description. And of course, brought to you by Refuge Medical, of whom I'm the chief shilling officer, because that's one of the hats that you wear when you're the founder and the CEO. And I can tell you, there's 26 families that earn a living from Refuge Medical, and I'm very thankful to all of y'all who support the show and who support Refuge Medical so that those fine American men and women can pay their bills. Awesome. Have you guys seen Representative Lindsey Graham, he of the animated corpse? How does this guy continue to get elected? Shavuot incoming. That is correct, JS Genesis Designs. It all depends on what calendar that you're on, and frankly, I don't care what calendar who is on. We'll pivot there just for a moment. A lot of people will reach out to me, Brother Bear, and now Pastor Bear, what calendar do you use? What calendar should I use? I don't care. And I'm not going to make any recommendations to you because nobody knows. The Babylonians, the Greeks, the Romans, the scientists, the Americans, the Jews. Sorry, my dogs just chased a black cat down the driveway. And the dogs are very excited about it. The cat is very not. The Enochians and everybody else cannot agree on what day or year we are in. We don't know. We don't know. And that's one of the things that Messiah will do when he returns. In fact, he reads from the scroll of Yeshayahu, Isaiah. He stands up in the temple. And part of what he declares is, as he's reading from Isaiah is, I will come to proclaim the year of release, which is the year of Jubilee, the Yobel. And if you know when the year of release is, you can back into what year we're in with your Shemitah year, your years of rest, which means you can back into the date and the time, the season, the Shabbat, etc., etc. So I don't know what calendar you should be on, because nobody knows what calendar you should be on. And if you turn the calendar into a stumbling block because you're some kind of Torah terrorist and you know better than everybody else, my question to you would be, are you Messiah? And if the answer is no, which I'm going to assume the answer is no, with all due respect, shut the hell up. You possess no authority over your brother or sister to proclaim the year of release. And so rather than looking for reasons why we can't all fellowship together, because I have seen people break fellowship over a discrepancy in dates that could be measured in hours. Hours. And we can't fellowship anymore. You're in false worship. Really, bro? Really? Okay. Got it. There's one church, and that's Believer in Messiah. It's not 54,000 different denominations, or you read a book and now you're better informed than everybody else. In fact, that's the Dunning-Kruger effect, isn't it? Right? See, wisdom is knowing what you don't know. Knowing what you don't know. Right? Identifying gaps in your knowledge. And then you realize, like Deuteronomy 29:29, the secret matters belong to Elohim. But what has been revealed to us to do all the words of this Torah for us and our children forever. What's up, Tato? Good morning. 12C, shalom. So anyway, yes, we will be observing Shavuot this coming Sunday, first day as the world calls it. Not everybody will. And I have zero opinion one way or the other about if you're going to observe Shavuot, what day you should or shouldn't observe Shavuot on. In fact, when we were deployed in Barnesville, we had a gentleman there by the name of Brian, who was a lunar Sabbatarian. And so his Sabbaths, his Shabbats were falling on Tuesday at that time. And he was like, hey, Bear, I hope it's okay. I'm still going to fellowship with you guys, on Saturday, but my Shabbat is Tuesday, and so I'm not going to be working on Tuesday. I hope that's okay. And I'm like, bro, good for you. I don't care. Do your thing, homie. The rest of us will be over here in the field on Tuesday because we do Shabbat on Saturday, but good for you. Go on with your bad self. I'm supposed to get up in this guy's business and tell him he's wrong, when the fact of the matter is, he might be right. Maybe I should be listening to him. Maybe he's seen a part of the path that I haven't seen, right? But, well, you've been keeping Torah for 7 years, and you've read the entire Bible 10 times, and you're an ordained pastor. That doesn't mean I know everything. In fact, it means the opposite. It means I know what I don't know. Maybe this guy knows more than I do about that particular thing. So if you're going to observe Shavuot, or if you've already observed Shavuot, Mazel Tov, blessings. Well done, good and faithful servant. The day, see the book of Numbers, read the Pesach. It matters more that you do it with a clean heart and pure intentions, that you do it on the specific day. To which people would argue, well, then what about Shabbat? Why can't I do a Sunday Sabbath, the Lord's Day? Well, because there's strong historical evidence that that's not the day. That's why. You can't just randomly pick a day. You should try and find the appropriate day. But if the appropriate day is a matter of hours, we're going to break fellowship over that? No, that shit's retarded. But I digress. Now that we've got the important things out of the way, good morning, everybody. How are we in the chat? I'm pretty sure Messiah will work all that out when he returns. Same thing, Tato. Same thing. I'm positive of it. I'm certain of that's one of the things Messiah is going to be doing in his role as high priest, to read the book of Hebrews. It's a high priest's job. Hey, guys, we're going to be doing Shabbat in 48 hours. Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. I needed the update to my calendar. You're awesome. Thank you. In the meanwhile, as my pastor says, Pastor Joe, do the best you can with what you got where you're at. Wait, the pastor has a pastor? Yeah, it works that way, 100%. What does pastor mean? Ra'ah, shepherd. Peter, do you love me? Yes, Messiah, I love you. Feed my lambs. Peter, do you love me? Yes, Master, I love you. Shepherd my flock. Peter, do you love me? Yes, Master, I love you. Feed my sheep. Those are three different things, by the way, which if you have sheep, you would know. How are you? What's up, Tommy Guptill? I'm good. I'm a little sleepy, but not terribly sleepy. Woke up a little earlier than I was anticipating this morning because Squish decided it was time to be awake, which was then reinforced by my wife, who reiterated it was time to be awake. And after suffering groanings inutterable, I departed from my bed and have really just been kind of hanging out with my family and scrolling the news this morning. I have a very large cup of coffee. This cup provided to me by Squeaks on deployment in Barnsdall. What's up, Squeaks? Thanks for the cup. Got lots of coffee. As always, have myriad things to do today and probably not enough day to accomplish all of them in, but that's okay. That's my problem, not yours. Senator Lindsey Graham, he of the Graham Cracker dynasty, is now advocating that we should send U.S. troops, not even NATO troops, U.S. troops into Ukraine to help them win a war that would otherwise be unwinnable, because there's an estimated $13 trillion in precious metals and trace minerals under the Ukrainian soil. And if anybody is going to extract that, it ought to be us, paraphrasing his words. Now, this dude is the worst kind of war hawk, in my opinion. And it just kind of struck me, like things like lithium and molybdenum and silver and other trace minerals that are necessary for the air quote green revolution. We used to have this policy, especially under the U.S. petrodollar, which I know Saudi Arabia isn't going to renew the U.S. petrodollar agreement signed in, what, 1975? Supposed to expire in 2025, and they're saying they're not going to renew it. I know, I've seen that. U.S. dollar ain't that great. Anyway, it's still better than the non-existent BRICS currency, currently subject to change at any moment. But it has occurred to me that we've had a long history of sending U.S. troops halfway around the world, essentially in defense of the U.S. petrodollar. And now we're going to send U.S. troops halfway around the world in defense of the green revolution. It's just a different rock to die for. The green revolution is crap anyway. It's trash. Like, I've seen coal seam mountaintop removal in West Virginia, and it's an atrocity. I don't support that. But I've also seen lithium mines and copper mines. Tell me that's not an environmental disaster. Like the break-even ROI, carbon neutrality on these cars and wind turbines and solar panels, they're ridiculous. They're non-existent. Like I've told you guys multiple times, wind turbines have a 20 to 25 year service life and a 38-year break-even point, carbon neutrality point on the turbine themselves. So we're 18 years in the hole for everyone we stand up, right? The cars, we don't have enough electricity to go around right now because of the green revolution. Natural gas and coal plants, and to a lesser extent nuclear, have all been shut down because, oh no, carbon emissions, which by the way, that CO2 makes plants grow and plants clean the air for us and provide oxygen for us. That landmark study came out about that, which just confirmed everything that we already knew, that CO2 is good for plants and plants are good for the environment. The labeling of CO2 as a pollutant by the air quote scientists is a more egregious violation of the labeling of medical experimentation as a vaccine, which we'll jump into that rabbit hole too at some point. Have you seen that scientists are now saying, doctors are now saying, No, the claims that were put forth by Pfizer and Johnson et al. Were that this was a therapeutic because it was supposed to reduce symptoms, and therefore it's not immune from uh, retaliatory. Uh, what's the word that I'm looking for here? You can sue. You can bring a case against it because, per the definition of a vaccine is not supposed to reduce symptoms. But these all very clearly said that they would reduce symptoms. Therefore, they're therapeutics, not vaccines, and therefore they're not protected as vaccines. They're therapeutics, and you can sue Johnson and Johnson and Pfizer and Moderna and all these other people. Praise Yah, do it. Let's get the world's first $1 trillion class action lawsuit going. Litigation. Thank you, Matt Mayer. That's probably indicative of more coffee, right? More coffee, everyone. And so the United States power grid already doesn't produce enough power, but we're going to get everybody electric vehicles that, by the way, nobody wants. Ford scrapped production of its F-150 Lightning, which was a $150,000 lithium-ion bomb. Both bomb regarding sales, and literally that shit will explode and kill you in a ball of fire. I mean, have you seen the thousands of fires from e-bikes, from the lithium-ion batteries in these e-bikes exploding or catching fire randomly inside of people's homes? Imagine if one of those cars goes up inside your garage. Then what? Now, conversely, I think where it makes sense, there's room in this conversation for electric vehicles, specifically heavy haul, large off-road trucks for a while have been electric vehicles. Now they use an onboard diesel engine to spin a generator to power electric motors in the wheels because of the incredible amounts of efficiency and torque. And so if you got 400 tons of ore or overburden to move on a gigantic yellow truck, those trucks are driven by gigantic electric motors. There's a company out of Canada, Edison Motors, that's making some banging electric logging trucks that have onboard diesel engines that, when needed, the onboard diesel engine will fire up, run the generator to power the batteries that moves the truck. And I like that guy. I like that guy a lot. I follow him on socials, and what he's building is very reasonable. And I believe, don't quote me on it, but I believe the reason that he started doing that in the first place was because of Canada's ridiculous emissions. He's like, okay, I'm a logger. I run Kenworths and Western Stars from the 80s and the 90s. I can't keep up with all this Canadian bullcrap. What if I just made one that's electric? And it worked. And now he's, yay capitalism, looking into mass producing these trucks, not to adhere to some woke ideological BS, but because there's space in the market to apply that heavy haul infrastructure that we use already and have been using for decades in the mining industry to the logging industry. Isn't that how train locomotives work? L. Williams, I believe many locomotives do work that way, if not most locomotives do work that way, although I'm 0% an expert or even a novice at locomotives. What I know about them is they're heavy and usually orange, and they're usually pulling a lot of train cars behind them. And I think there's a dude in there. Although with generative AI and the Internet of Things, who knows if there's a dude in there anymore? I have no idea. Did you see that Elon Musk is talking about banning all Apple devices from X and presumably Starlink and what's the other thing that he does? SpaceX, because Apple is incorporating OpenAI ChatGPT 4.0 into their Ask Siri model, which now incorporates AI into your 7th generation collection device. And so Elon has deemed the Apple iOS platform as a security threat and will not allow those devices at his companies. And if you're visiting and you have one of those companies, you will need to put your Apple device into a Faraday cage and not carry it around with you on property. So if you have an Apple device, you might want to look into that. I don't use Siri as it is. I think Siri's gay. Oh, sorry, that's hate speech in Canada. Luckily, I'm an American with the First Amendment right, so I can say what I want to say because freedom, yo, coffee. Speaking of Canada, a Canadian think tank did a 37-page report forecasting threats on the horizon that Canada that needs to be aware of. And buried in that 37-page document is one paragraph about the likelihood of American Civil War II. Is it predictive programming? Probably not, because unless it was intentionally leaked, in which case maybe you could make the argument for that, because 6 people own 98% of all the world's media companies. And those 6 people are all backed. They're corporations that are backed by a corporate government who receive all types of funding and protections from said corporate government. Saying the quiet part out loud again. Anyway, is it predictive programming? Maybe you can make that argument, but I don't get the vibe that that was the case here, because it was an internal document that was not really for the way the document was written, wouldn't suggest external dissemination anyway. But I digress. And so Canada gave a low probability but a very high threat value to a U.S. Civil War II in within the next 5 years, I believe it was. And of course, they cited all the reasons: political ideology, the balkanization of states, the tension between the Democrats and the Republicans, and Donald J. Trump facing, 136 years in prison, and President Biden pooping his pants on D-Day, and all these other things, and basically came up with a low probability but extremely high impact for Canadians if the United States falls into a second civil war. The fact that it's even on their radar and it's being discussed at a federal level in Canada is super interesting. What's up, Howitzer Hill? I wish our taxes paid for infrastructure like bullet trains and not foreign wars. No taxation without representation. Yeah, I'm down with that. Corporate foreign wars, I think, are getting really old. I think a lot of people are waking up to that. So it used to be the hippy dippy left that was like, make peace, not war, make love, not war, right? And I think there's been a generation or two since that age of conservatives whose children have gone to war and fought, and in many cases died in those wars, who have realized that what they are fighting for, the country that they are fighting for, is no longer the country that we thought we had. And therefore, cost benefit analysis, no, it ain't worth going to war, which is why the government continues to manufacture these existential threats to our existence, so that we will have to go to war, so that the military industrial complex can continue to extract capital from the have-nots and coalesce it at the upper echelons of the haves. What is it? The U.S. Army was 41,000 people shy in their recruiting efforts last year, and I believe it's only 978 schools nationwide mandate that their graduating class takes the ASVAB, the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. And so in the remainder of schools, it's voluntary whether or not you take the ASVAB, which means the pipeline for potential new recruits is small. And so there's some research, some efforts have been made to mandate the ASVAB in high schools across the country as a factor on whether or not you graduate. Did you or did you not complete the ASVAB? But even then, part of why the Army says that their recruiting numbers are down, and I'm sure it has nothing to do with LGBTQIA plus initiatives and agendas within the Department of Defense at all. I'm sure it has nothing to do with that at all, because that would be ridiculous. I mean, it is Pride Month. But the Army is cited as saying that 71% of applicants are not physically fit enough to join the Army. Our children are obese and slothful and lazy, 7 out of 10 of them. Which begs the question, why? Probably because they're surrounded by rectangles and they eat processed foods that aren't foods, which make them sick, which means that they're um, pasty skinned, sickly, and have no muscle definition and no endurance because they've been living inside under the fluorescent grow lights their entire life and therefore are not fit for military service. What's interesting is that you can have a mental disorder as a man that makes you think you're a woman and you want to cut off your reproductive organs. That still makes you fit for military service. But if you got to lose a few lbs or need corrective lenses, no, maybe not. So, but if you identify as a cat, then yes, you're fit for military service. You need a litter box to shit in while on deployment. No problem, we got you there. You see Naval Special Warfare on Instagram celebrating Pride Month. Naval Special Warfare. I believe it was Sean Ryan came out and he was like, I used to be really proud to be part of this community, but I'm disgusted at this point of what NSW has become. I'll hold my comments because I was not, nor will I ever be part of the NSW community, although I know a lot of people in it, do business with a lot of people in it. Suffice it to say, the people that I know are 0% supportive of NSW celebrating Pride Month. Not that they give a shit if the guy to the left of them is gay or straight. They don't care. They have a job to do, which is to be the world's elite warriors and warfighters. Or some of. Hold on, Army guys, Marine Corps guys, Air Force guys, hold on. Some of the world's most elite warfighters. Nobody cares about your sexual orientation when there's a job to do. And when you elevate your sexual orientation above everything else, it now becomes your identity. Do you think that's going to impede readiness and your ability to bring the hate to the enemy? My guess is yes. Yes. Yeah, oops, I know. A naval special mass sacrifice. I know. And there's a whole bunch of people talking about D-Day being a novus ordo seclorum mass sacrifice. And let me say this, maybe the most astute way I know how to say it. Way too many people give way too much credit to the enemy. Now, when I say the enemy, I'm not talking about the Russians or the Chinese. I'm talking about Hasatan, Satan, Nahash, Lucifer. Bear, don't say his name. It gives them power. I don't give a shit about that asshole. My king outranks him greatly, which is the point that I'm about to make. We know from the Bible that not only is Messiah God, not only is Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, God incarnate, God made flesh, that he was there at the creation of the world. We know this from John chapter 1 and Proverbs 8. In fact, if you read Proverbs 8, you'll see that he was there before the founding of the world. So Yeshua existed, Messiah existed as part of Elohim, as a facet of Abba Father Yahweh Elohim, the Lord our God. Before Genesis chapter 1 verse 1, he was. And in fact, the first word in the Hebrew Bible, Bereshit, is a prophecy of his coming. Different conversation for a different time. If you've been on Patreon and seen the Bereshit Torah portion, you're tracking on what I'm talking about here. But literally the word Bereshit is a prophecy of a son who will come and suffer and wear a crown of thorns. Literally. Okay, so the first word in the Hebrew Bible is a prophecy of Messiah, Yah made flesh. So Yeshua is Yah. Yah is the creator. Everything that was made by him. Angels are a creation. And there's seems to be a misunderstanding here about where in the hierarchy humans versus angels rank. Do you not know that you will sit in judgment of angels from the mouth of Messiah and the mouth of Paul? Why did angels, 200 of them, led by Shemjaza, fall to earth? Genesis 6, the Watchers, the Nephilim, the Iliud, the great giants that were the precursor to the flood that Noah experienced, because Noah was righteous in his generations. Righteous in his generations, that word generations is the Hebrew word Beidoratav. Beidoratav describes a double helix life force, literally. So before electron microscopes existed, the Hebrew word Beidoratav was for DNA. Noah's DNA was clean. He was not polluted by these fallen angels. These angels fell to earth to copulate with the daughters of men. Why? Because men have inheritance, family, and agency, and angels do not. Angels are created, just like we are created. But we have an inheritance, we have dominion over the earth, we have a family, legacy, and we have agency. We can choose to work with Father Yah, or we can choose to work against him. Now, I don't recommend the latter because he will all the way smite your ass. As my wife likes to say, you gonna get smoted. Okay? Don't get smoted. And these angels, these fallen angels, will get smoted at the end of an age. Read Revelation. They're jealous of us, but they're created. They're not the creator. And Satan, Hasatan, Lucifer, who fell from the heavens because of pride, mind you, it's Pride Month, is a creation which arguably humans outrank in the biblical hierarchy. So there's that. Then we can go to the book of James. The demons hear his name, Yeshua's name, and tremble. Tremble. What are demons? Disembodied fallen angels, unclean spirits. They hear his name and tremble. Why? Because his name is a facet of Elohim, the living God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and all of their descendants, the tree of Israel. Not nation-state Israel over there, heart condition Israel over here, washed clean by the blood of Messiah, grafted in per Romans 11, Israel. So you give the enemy too much credit because he's a creation. He's a thing that was made like a tree or a rock or a cloud. Cool to look at, but we're told don't worship those things. Don't make idols out of those things. No idolatry. Whether you worship the thing itself or you carve it into a shape that you worship, none of that's allowable because they were made. They're not the maker. And we worship the maker. We're covered by the blood of the maker. And we're fearfully and wonderfully created in the image of the maker. And we arguably, in the maker's hierarchy, outrank these other creations, which are these angels. Now they have a job to do, and they're incredibly powerful. One seraphim wiped out 185,000 Assyrians as they came against Jerusalem. One of them. And he stopped when the Father said, okay, that's enough. They've had enough. And I feel like, see, if that angel had agency, twas it I would have looked up and be like, really? I was just getting started, Dad. Come on. So they're incredibly powerful, but they don't have what we have. They don't have an inheritance. They don't have dominion. They don't have a family. They don't have legacy, and they don't have agency. And we do. And they're jealous of us for that. They wish that they had that biblically. So when we ascribe, even if Hasatan is the prince of this world in this age, we know that. And that's not new, because when Gabriel is coming to Daniel in the book of Daniel, he's like, I would have been here sooner, but I was delayed 21 days fighting with the prince of Persia. Who's the prince of Persia? It's an unclean spirit. It's a demon. Okay, so they already have dominion over the earth. They've had dominion over the earth. Okay, but bro, my commander-in-chief outranks this guy so hard that if I just speak his name, they tremble. And so it doesn't mean that the enemy isn't doing shenanigans over here, isn't trying to mess up things as much as he possibly can, isn't chucking out stumbling blocks everywhere, but don't give him more credit than he deserves. If you are covered by the blood of the Lamb, If you whisper his name, they flee. That fast. That fast. So yeah, the enemy does bad stuff. And the enemy's been doing bad stuff for millennia. And what an opportunity you have to walk in the will of the Most High, covered by the blood of Messiah, to be a man of Elohim, to execute with righteous power and authority, indwelt by the Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, to bring peace upon the earth. Blessed are the peacemakers. Dude, step into your inheritance. Step into your calling. Stop being so worried about the enemy. Stop being afraid of the enemy as if he has any foothold in your life. And if he does have a foothold in your life, you need to take that area of your life and put it under a microscope and look at it and go, why am I afraid of this? If I love Messiah and he loves me and I'm doing my absolute best to walk in his ways, why do I even care? Why is this an issue? Why am I stuck in this rut? Why do I keep tripping over the stumbling block? Do some introspection. Hit the ground, put your knees on the ground, talk to the Father. Give that away. Give that over. Father, take this from me. I'm not good with this, but you are. I need you to remove this from me so I can walk in your ways to be the man that you created me to be. So stop giving the enemy so much credit. Oh, it was a mass offering of blood. Maybe. Or maybe that just happened to be the date that day. Or maybe they were actually supposed to go in 2 days earlier, but they didn't due to weather because, read books and stuff. It's a giant conspiracy, Bear. It's been a conspiracy since the angels fell, homie. Get used to it. Do you know what conspire means in the Latin? It means to breathe together. It means to orchestrate. If me and my wife decide to throw you a birthday party and don't tell you about it because it's a surprise party, that's a conspiracy. Everything's a conspiracy. You ever launch a new product with your company and you didn't tell the customers yet? That's a conspiracy. Ever surprise somebody? It's all just, and it doesn't mean that there aren't big overarching global conspiracies. There are. I'm not afraid of them. I'm not afraid of shit. Do not fear he who can destroy the body. Fear he, Elohim, who can destroy the soul. And what does fear mean in Hebrew? Deeply respect. Deeply respect Elohim. First and foremost, love the Lord your God with everything that you got. And love your neighbor as yourself. On this hangs all the Torah and the prophets per the mouth of Messiah. So, yes, the enemy messes around and has been. He walks the earth like a roaring lion. But remember when Job was tested, the enemy came to the Father first. And the Father said, you think you're somebody? Why don't you try my servant Job, who was a man? Why don't you try my servant Job? And all of the material things that could be taken from Job were his health, his wealth, his family, his station in life, his renown, his esteem, his confidence. All that was taken from him. Even his friends are rebuking him. And twice the enemy goes to the Father and says, hey, what's up with this Job guy? The Father says, hey, keep paying attention, keep watching. And Job's faith prevails. He overcomes the enemy as a man. And then, very interestingly, Job asks the Father, why did you allow this to happen? And what does the Father do? Rebukes him. So where were you when I stored up the hail in the heavens? When I filled the storehouses with snow for winter? Where were you when I made the earth? Who are you to speak to me like that, son? We can see elsewhere in Isaiah, the Father favors who he favors and he doesn't favor who he doesn't favor. Okay. But all these things and more are restored to Job, a man who came under trial from the adversary because the Father allowed it, which goes back to James. My brothers, count it all joy when you fall into various trials for the proving of your faith. Prove your faith. Faith is something you do. It's not something you talk about, because belief is something you do. You don't do things you don't believe in. You do things you do believe in. That's something to think about. Monitor your actions for a day, a week, a month. All those things you did, even the things you didn't like, were things you believed in because you did them. Well, why did I do things I didn't like? I don't know. Go read the words of Paul. I do the things I don't want to do, and I don't do the things I want to do because of flesh, which is proof of the fact that we all need Messiah to walk rightly in this life. But don't give the enemy too much credit, bro. Is he dangerous? Yeah, for sure. He can be, especially if you're walking around without the armor of Elohim. But he doesn't have the power and authority that you think he does, especially if you're covered by the blood of the Lamb. So, there's a little 10-minute diatribe from Pastor Bear. What's going on in this chat? Rockstar. That's right, Dolores. In all this, Job did not sin by blaming God. 100%. Tom Porter. Okay, Bear. JC Fixer. I needed that. Guys, from now on, from when on, from the time of Adam and original sin, from now on, you will earn your bread by the sweat of your brow. And women, you will have pains in birth. The human condition is going to be filled with trial and tribulation. It just is. Are you numbing the crap out of your fingers right now? Hi, baby. Got like half a fist in her mouth. Just yeah. Do you have a good nap? I will attempt to hold her while you make a bottle. What's up, Chicken Farmer Plus? Shalom. Give me this, baby. Oh, come here, Fwishy. What's up? Do you want to see the papers? They want to see you. She's like, you just woke up? You got your sleepy face on? Yeah. You just eat your fist, okay? I'll handle the rest. You do you, boo. Scuba Rob. What's up, Scuba? Yeah. Did you have a good nap? Let's cover your foots up. There we go. What you been doing lately? Yeah. Yeah. She told me a very interesting story the other day. Her and her future betrothed, Gideon, rode on a one-humped camel named Tina to Pakistan from here, somehow on a camel to Pakistan, where they got on a red-hot air balloon that they went on for their first date. And I was like, that's a really interesting story coming from somebody who doesn't have words. But you may not know this. There's a thing that happens when you get ordained. You can read minds. So, yeah, it's you can just read minds. And so she was telling me about that. She's also got a buddy who's a giraffe named Leroy, who's got a pocket full of Oreos. And yeah, you're going to be late to your job inside the hollow tree making cookies with all the rest of the elves. The cookies are just a cover up for a weapons smuggling operation coming from the IRA, mostly small arms, automatic weapons, but, you know, cover for action because, you know, you take a semi truck or a Connex box filled with, you know, 25 pallets of fudge rounds, but one pallet of, you know, Browning automatic rifles or AKs or PKMs or whatever you got. Whatever. Does anybody run a bar anymore? I think Ohio Ordnance makes the H-car, which is like an updated Browning automatic rifle, but I digress. You know, so you got one pallet of small arms hidden amongst all the fudge rounds. If custom gets a hold of it, okay, you lose a pallet of fudge rounds. Who cares? And then the profits from the fudge rounds cover the pallet of small arms, and you know, you pay off a couple of guys at the dock. Bingo, bango. But, having a 3-month-old that's smuggling weapons, my concern is, and I don't actually know, first of all, I don't know what the statute of limitations is on that. Second of all, she's like, can she be tried? She's 3 months old. She's 3 months old. All the feds that watch this channel are like, add a new piece of paper to Bear's file. He's smuggling weapons under his daughter's name. No, I literally don't have time for that shit. Oh, look at you. Your RBF is serious this morning. Training them young. What's up, Mary? Yeah. You see you? Oh, you got big young? Oh, Gesundheit? Question mark? All right. So let's see what else. Much like my 3-month-old daughter, Biden pooped his pants on D-Day. And although there's a lot of speculation, did he poop his pants? Did he not poop his pants? Did the robot just have a brief moment in programming?
For real?
Like for real, like standing on stage, stopped what he was doing, squatted down into the toddler squat. When you're potty training, right? And they got the pull-ups on, but they haven't quite figured out how to.
Right.
They know they gotta poo, but they don't know when they gotta poo. Right. That thing.
Yeah.
He did that thing on stage amongst myriad dignitaries in front of hundreds of cameras and thousands in attendance, stopped what he was doing, squatted down on stage, and shit his britches. For the second time, because the first time he did this, he was scheduled to meet with the Pope a couple of years ago, and they actually had to cancel his meeting at the Vatican because the President of the United States shit his britches. Which begs the question. Now, here's the thing. You're going to find all kinds of people over the next few days who will talk about the fact that the President of the United States, thank you, Madre, the President shit his britches. Which begs the question, who's actually in charge? And people will say, oh, it's Jill Biden. No, it's Obama. No, it's holdovers from the Obama presidency. No, it's the members of his cabinet. No, it's unnamed deep state staffers. No, maybe, probably, all of those, some of those. Here's the bigger question that I got to thinking about earlier. The legislation and the executive orders that are sliding across that robot pedophile's desk, that are signed, that are executed with his signature, if the man, he is so feeble that he could not stand trial. Remember that? He couldn't testify, according to the IC, the intelligence community. And then 41 pages of documentation leading up to that were exposed as to why he's not fit to stand trial were heavily edited by the White House before they were released, which is tampering with legal documents. So that's illegal. The man is so mentally feeble that he can't stand trial, but he's the President of the United States of America. He's signing, or at least technically, I don't know if he is. I'm not a fly on the wall in the White House. Praise the Most High. If I was, dear Father, make me a nuclear fly that when I explode, we could solve these problems that we've got here in this country. He's signing these documents. He's executing these documents legally with the full force of the presidency of the United States of America. What documents are being slid across that desk and executed by this guy who's got nothing going on upstairs? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. He isn't as crazy as he is pretending. So there's a lot of people who said that too. I disagree. Myself personally, just gut. I'm highly intuitive. Doesn't mean I'm always right, but I'm highly intuitive, and the best way I've heard intuition explained is intuition is the feeling you get in your gut when your brain knows something, but your mouth doesn't know how to articulate it yet. And in other words, you see all the data points, and consciously, maybe you're aware of some of the data points, but subconsciously, you know they all connect, but you don't quite know how yet. And there's a pattern there, but you haven't quite sussed out the pattern yet to be able to slap a label on it verbally. And so intuitively, I think he is a senile old man who's shitting his britches. And I'm positive he has body doubles, and I'm positive they've used CGI before in public appearances, and I'm positive they've shot him full of all kinds of B vitamins and amphetamines just to be able to get him to attempt to run up a flight of stairs onto a plane or appear in public. And I'm positive he shit his britches, and I'm positive he's a pedophile. And I don't think he has ever been, even when he had all of his mental faculties in the White House, or more mental faculties than he has now in the White House. I don't think he's ever been actually in charge of anything. And I think there's been a lot of presidents before him, probably from the Bushes forward, that weren't actually in charge of anything. They were just the public face to the private corporation that is the United States of America. And I think that's part of why, again, I can go both ways on Donald Trump, and I often do go both ways on Donald Trump. So for all of our Trump haters, I'm with you. Like, there's a lot of things I don't like about the man either. But I think that's part of why the establishment pushed back so hard against Trump and is pushing so hard against Trump right now, is that when he was in the White House, he was much harder to control by the corporation of the United States of America than all these other presidents have been. Trump has doubles too. They all have doubles. Why? Of course they all have doubles. I'll tell you what. If I had the money, let's say Refuge Medical just takes off, gangbusters, right? Guys, I've been made at the gas station, and there are people who want to kill me. Facts. And by the way, not afraid of you. Some of you are probably watching the show right now. Oh, hubris comes before the fall, Barrett. No, I'm not afraid, not because of me. I'm not afraid because no weapon formed against me shall prosper, because my God is God. That's why I'm not afraid. And every man has their day. I'm not going out with my tail tucked between my legs. Simple as that. But let's just say Bear becomes president of the United States of America. You bet your ass I'll have body doubles too. 100%. Because people want to kill the president. I'm YouTube, FBI. I'm not saying I want to kill the president. I'm saying that people historically have wanted to kill the president. In fact, alphabet agencies were listening. At least one time, probably 3 times, the intelligence community, IC, in the United States of America, in collusion with banks and mafias, have killed the president of the United States of America, or tried. And it all has interestingly revolved around a little thing called the gold standard. That old fiat currency thing. So anyway, Biden pooped his pants, and again, and it just makes me wonder, not necessarily who's in control, but what is that man signing? What is he executing in his feeble state right now that we don't know about, or that we're only getting inklings of? And how much more extreme are those executive orders or legislations that are passed and executed by the president? How much more extreme are those going to get in between now and, say, November? Remember that they tried to put people in camps because of COVID. And now, all of a sudden, all this documentation is coming out that it was all a bunch of bullshit anyway, which many of us knew at the time. It was all made up. Whose line is it anyway? Where the rules are made up and the points don't matter. They're just playing a global version of Whose Line Is It Anyway? They're all actors. They're all just trying to get you laugh so you don't pay attention to what's happening to the world around you. And the rules are made up and the points don't matter anyway, because the points are fiat currency, which is make-believe. And see, they have you convinced that the goal is to amass as much fiat currency as possible. And if you just waste your life away to 65, 70, 75 years old, working for the man, you'll amass enough money to live below the poverty line for a decade or two before you die, chasing that fiat currency when it has no inherent value. Unlike things like real estate, precious metals, charitable retainer trusts, charitable living trusts, land trusts, so you can avoid things like the death tax, forming limited partnerships where you can give away portions of your company because you start a company. Every single American on planet Earth should have a company, should have an LLC. Even if you're a W-2 wage slave, you should have an LLC. Every single one of you, because of the tax deductions. Every single one of you should have an LLC. All of you. Well, then I'll have to pay, instead of $60 to get my taxes done, I'll have to spend $190. Okay. And I won't get my check from the government back. Bro, you spend the $200 for somebody to file a Schedule C on your LLC. Yeah. And get 40 grand back. Oh, I know. But see, they don't teach you this shit in school, because school is about how to be a good factory worker. And by the way, we don't have any factories anymore. So, but I digress. The point is if you're going to amass wealth, that wealth has actual value outside of what Janet yelling at the Fed decides today. That's the point. Real wealth. Well, if you don't pay your property taxes, they'll come and take it from you. There's ways to deal with that as well. Talk to a financial planner. You don't have to pay them the first time you talk to them. Talk to a financial planner. Say, hey, this is what I'm concerned about. What if I can't pay my property taxes? You can prepay property taxes too. You can buy land in a place where the property tax here for all of the land and outbuildings and houses here is 1/10 of what it was in North Texas, where I used to live. 1/10. 1/10 of the property taxes on a 3-2 on a third of an acre. And the 3-2 was a fallen down piece of crap. So that means the taxes that I was accustomed to paying a property tax, I could pay that here. That would be 10 years worth of taxes here. And then again, if you have like a land trust of which you're the president of, and so you don't own the assets, but you direct the control of the assets, and that land trust has value, has equity, and perhaps earns an income. You use the income from that to pay the taxes on the land in perpetuity. Interesting. Just throwing that out there. Is there anything KH operators need? How are they doing mentally? The encouraging community. That's a great question. KH operators. We need more thermal devices, but I'm already working on that with one of our vendors. But if you just happen to feel like providing thermal devices, holler at us. What else do they need? They would very much so like more funding, because there's somebody we want to bring on. Who it is, it doesn't matter. But we have budget constraints right now, so they would like more funding in the field. And you see, there's 3 different facets of Caleb House, which I don't think most people realize. There's Caleb House, the organization. Now, under that umbrella, we have field teams, we have victim services, and then we have restoration. Okay, and with restoration, we have construction of the restoration facility. So those are 4 different teams. Okay, so the teams in the field are the people who are out there recovering the children and making bad stuff happen to bad people. They're the boots on the ground getting stuff done. Okay, then they pass from there to victim services. What does victim services do? whatever we need to do, whatever legally, like they'll have legal issues, they'll have mental issues, they'll have physical issues, there'll be deconfliction in some cases in between different agencies and jurisdictions. They'll need a place to sleep, they need food to eat, they need all of that, right? And so they go from recovered to victim services, then they go from victim services to restoration. Right now, restoration is a series of safe houses that we operate out of our bank accounts, that are staffed 24/7, 365, that have people in them that are in the process of being restored, remade, praise Yah, by the blood of the Lamb. That's the only way you remake somebody, by the way, is by the blood of the Lamb. But we need a restoration facility. And so we are in the process of building Caleb House, the restoration facility, which is a construction project currently. It's being aided by Grindstone Ministries, which does disaster relief and construction. Clear as mud, right? That's good. It actually gives us some operational security just in how complicated things are. And trust me, they're far less complicated now than they were when we first started, because we didn't know anything. We didn't know what we were doing. Monica, my admin, would yell at me all the time. She'd be like, "Where's spaghetti?" What does that mean? She's like, "We're all entangled and enmeshed. We're like a pot of spaghetti." And so we very intentionally over the last year have been pulling each spaghetti noodle out of the pot, straightening it out and putting it on the appropriate plate. And it's been a process. But while Caleb House and Grindstone are two separate organizations, separate 501c3s, separate FEINs, bank accounts, boards, etc., separate personnel, Grindstone is assisting in the construction portion of Caleb House. But what Caleb House does is not just that. Trenchers, huh? Well, they can wait a hot minute. Oh, these are the people for the fiber optic line. Y'all pray for us, because these dudes be Oklahoman AF and they just don't know who they're talking to. I've done thousands of miles of fiber on collection systems for wind turbine projects for the SCADA systems. And that was just me in my adult life. And when I was a kid, I got a picture of me 6 years old sitting on a John Deere 850 dozer with grouser pads on it, 11-foot Tico plow and a reel carrier on the front, plowing in fiber optic cable in the early days of fiber, back when they called that Buck Rogers stuff, Star Wars. Nobody will ever want that much bandwidth, because my dad is named on the patent for the connector you use to splice fiber with. So yeah, grew up around it. And so when you get the local yokels who are like, "You don't understand, man, we can't," I'm like, stop. You don't understand what you can do. My vast life experience has taught me different than what you believe that you know. And I don't opine on things I don't know, but subsurface utilities, I know, especially when it's electrical and data. So this is going to be fun. This is going to be a great time. I'm really looking forward to this. Yeah. Oh, I also wanted to talk about a little thing you might look into. The Food and Drug Administration paid all these big poultry companies like Jennie-O and Tyson and who's the other one? Growers Pride, paid all of them to cull their flocks of birds for bird flu. I believe Jennie-O got $88 million, and then it descends from there in the amount that they received. So all these people who have been murdering their flocks of chickens, their inventory, were paid by the FDA to do so. Or you could make the argument that were incentivized to do so because they were compensated by the FDA for the loss to their flocks at or above market value, to say that these flocks were culled because of bird flu. Bird flu is ridiculous. And even though it's ridiculous, the FDA and the World Health Organization are already starting to put out protocols and look at mRNA vaccinations against, air quote, vaccinations against the bird flu. If a single person falls for this bird flu bullshit, the top of my head will probably explode. Just so we're on the same page here. It'll be cleanup aisle me, because I don't think that I can take it. So just, you might let your fingers do some walking on that. Look into that. The FDA compensated these companies for the loss of their inventory due to bird flu at or above market value with a very, how should we say, expedient timeline, almost instantaneous payments. So they're trying, it sure as shit feels like they're trying to manufacture another thing. Which goes back to the wiles and the enemy. Messiah himself says, Matthew 24, wars, rumors of wars, famine, plague, disease. These will be the beginning of the birth pangs. Note in the Bible, you see three things that happen simultaneously all throughout the history of the Father's people, right? So this whole concept of believers will be plucked out. Believers will be plucked out of the earth and we won't have to go through that. No, you're stewarded through bad times by the Father. In fact, look at the parable of the wheat and the tares. The tares are plucked out first and then burnt, and then the field is harvested. And the tares is the bad seed, the bad guys, separating the bad stuff from the good stuff. You don't want to get plucked out. And that's a way different theological argument than right now, but you should research that if that convicted you. But there's three things that go together: the sword, war; scarcity of food, famine; and pestilence, disease and medical issues. These three things. In fact, what does Pastor Joe talk about all the time? Do you follow Pastor Joe on Patreon? You should. Well worth it. $5, highly recommended. Okay. The sword, war; scarcity of food, famine; and plague, pestilence. That's disease. That's medical. What are the three things that are going to get you per Pastor Joe? And he's right, because it's biblical. Imagine that. He's a pastor, biblical pastor, reads the word, does what it says. Starvation, people behaving badly, and medical. Interesting. So per Messiah Matthew 24, when you see these signs, these are the beginning of the birth pangs, and those who are in Jerusalem shall flee to the mountains. Okay. I think in large part things like these plandemics, scamdemics, right? COVID and now bird flu are the enemy trying to manufacture between scarcity of food, right? Have you looked at the earth? It's abundant. Why do they want to stop CO2 emissions so the earth will stop being abundant? Why did they blow up the Azure Standard warehouses and all these train derailments and spraying glyphosate and grazon on everything, and to reduce the abundance of the earth, because it plays into their anti-biblical concept of the earth can't support this many people. We got to kill half the world's population or get down to 500 million for the Georgia Guidestones so that we don't all die. The earth is abundant, y'all. You can grow enough food to feed your family of 5 on a half an acre of land. Yeah. Yeah. The earth is abundant. It is good. And the Father looked upon the earth and it is good. Okay. So they're manufacturing scarcity of food. Why war in Ukraine? Breadbasket of that area of the world. That's where the wheat comes from. So much so that it goes out from there into other parts of the world where wheat won't grow, Africa, right? And of course, as Lindsey Graham pointed out, all the $13 trillion worth of mineral value below the soil. Okay, so they're manufacturing scarcity of food in spite of the earth's abundance. They're manufacturing these medical issues, these plagues, in spite of the fact that your body is fearfully and wonderfully made by the creator of the universe. And if you just feed it food, real food, and sunshine, you'll be incredibly healthy, not incredibly sick, which gets you off of their hamster wheel of lifelong patient for their medical experimentation, which makes them trillions of dollars. And they're manufacturing wars. They're trying to create the circumstances of Matthew 24. And there will be a false prophet who does signs and wonders by whom many have been led astray. The bad guys, are trying to make the circumstances of Matthew 24 come to pass. But what does Messiah say? And if any man says there is Messiah, he's in the mountains or he's on the hilltops or he's in the city, do not believe them, for we will all see him coming in the clouds. But they, the enemy, and all of his little minions are trying to make all this stuff happen so that you, out of fear, will believe we are at a different place on the timeline than we are. And people ask me all the time, is this end times? Shit, you will know it, son. We won't have to wonder if this is end times. My personal conviction, you think life's hard now? We have air conditioning and electricity and running water and high-speed internet and hot coffee and clean clothes and food in our bellies and food in the pantry and food in the freezer and food in the fields. It's so hard. If you have to wonder if you're being persecuted, you're not being persecuted. If nobody's tried to cut your head off today with a dull machete because of your belief in Messiah, you're not being persecuted. Are we on the slippery slope towards persecution? Probably. But the enemy is trying to manufacture these bullshit circumstances to get believers to fear. But we're supposed to fear no one but the Lord our God, Yahuwah our Elohim, per the mouth of Messiah. No one but him. Why do they want you afraid? Because fear is an incredibly powerful motivator. And if they get you and all the normies afraid, they can shape what happens next. Hegelian dialect, thesis, antithesis, smash them together, synthesis. When you control the problem and you control the solution, the outcome is guaranteed to benefit you. And that's what they're doing. And that's what they've been doing for decades, centuries, millennia. And so look at all these world events through that lens. Is this being manufactured? Is this the false prophet of the beast by which many were led astray? Because they were under a strong delusion. They did not receive the love of the truth by which they would be saved. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. So another manufactured bird flu pandemic. Okay. Not scared. 0% scared. Like, ain't doing it. Not doing it. 0% interested. I think that's the show for today, y'all. I gotta go deal with these yokels out here who are probably going to interrupt my internet service anyway in the near future. A couple of things I do want to talk to you about. Project Tribute Foundation is now at 21 lives saved. That makes 104 lives saved to date with Refuge Medical kits that we know of. In the mouths of 2 or 3, let a thing be established. How's 104 looking for you? I don't think these things work. I don't think the bare fact's going to work for you. I know it's going to work for you, even if you got some fuzz on the back of it. I don't know where all this fuzz is coming from. There's a fuzz infusion, a fuzz invasion in my home. It's the little things in life, right? 104. Praise Yah. And so this isn't some price point Chinese bullshit designed to make you feel good about yourself, to check that box that I got a first aid kit, I'm good now. Nope, this is the exact opposite of that. This is not cheap, but it's full of value. It's made in America, guaranteed forever. 124. That's right, 124. Because 103 from Refuge Medical and 21 from Project Tribute. 124 lives saved to date. You know, my 5-year goal to be realized in 2027 was to have 100 lives saved to date with Refuge kits. Praise y'all, we've crushed that goal. This thing works. Grab the red handle, pull, trauma first aid kit. Good to go. Everything you need, nothing you don't, to deal with all the things that are going to kill you quick. If you have a boo-boo, I put some Band-Aids in here. It's not a boo-boo kit. It's a trauma first aid kit. If you want a boo-boo kit, we got those too. I don't talk that much about them because, frankly, that's not where my passion is. I have a boo-boo kit because enough of y'all have asked me, would you please make a boo-boo kit? Then I made a boo-boo kit. But maybe I should be counting how many skinned knees of toddlers we've saved, but I haven't tracked that data. And it's not to marginalize that, but I do track the data of how many lives have been saved and how many babies have been born. We've got 8 bucket babies, 8 babies that have been born with Refuge Medical birthing buckets, and 124 lives saved to date with our kits. I'm doing a little thing here. Boom. So I had one of these, and I put that right there. Is that black multicam? It is black multicam. When we bought our sew shop, we found a very limited inventory of multicam black. And if you're into multicam black, there, that lighting's a little bit better. We have a few multicam black on the website. So check it out. Made in America, guaranteed forever. If you use this kit to save somebody's life, I will replace whatever components you use at no cost to you in perpetuity, forever and ever. Amen. And we've done that 124 times. And if you break this kit, I will replace it at no cost to you. And we've done that 4 times in 4.5 years. How we doing out there?
But they're going to go the way that we talked about,
No.
as opposed to this way.
Logic has prevailed?
Yeah.
Praise Elohim.
Yeah, the guy's smart.
Okay.
But we need to move your truck.
I will move my truck in a moment because the internet's fixing to go away. So I'm going to end this live stream shortly. Don't get barfed all over. So, refugemedical.com, whether you want multicam black or multicam or red or green or whatever, we got you. I do want to give a quick shout out to Covert Threads. This is my favorite sock. This is the Rock Infiltrator from Covert Threads. And I want to show you something super cool. You watching? Check this out. What's that? Oh my gosh, is that the bear logo on my favorite socks? It is. It is. Not 1, not 2, 3 pairs these guys sent to me. And I'll read to you real quick. 11JUN24. TJ. From the Covert Threads crew, thank you for your support and leading others to purchase American-made. Your audience has been amazing supporters of our products. Good job, Bear Nation. Every day we get to work with our family, our community, and amazing Americans to get our socks across the country. We know how much you like the Rock Infiltrator, and your team helped us with the vector of the Bear Independent logo. We hope you like these custom Rock Infiltrators as a small nod of gratitude for your support for Covert Threads. Thank you for your support, your service, and for kicking ass. Pete and team from covertthreads.com. Bless you, Pete. You're awesome. Your socks are awesome. I like good socks. I like great companies better. So, Covert Threads, you guys are super cool. grindstoneministries.com. If you need a Bible, you can buy one at our cost at grindstoneministries.com, or I can send you one for free if you're running short on funds. When you email us, admin at Grindstone Ministries, or click the contact button, please include your address so we know where to send the Bible. Okay? CalebHouse.org. Caleb